Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. Ever feel like you're just stuck on that treadmill?
Oh, yeah.
Work, 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 but not really getting anywhere? Like you're hitting the milestones, checking things off the list, but something feels like it's missing.
It's a common feeling for sure. I think we're often chasing success, but maybe not really stopping to think, like, what does success actually mean for me?
Yeah, and that's a question that Sahil Bloom really tackles head on in his book, The Five Types of Wealth,
Okay.
which is, more of a self-improvement guide than a straight finance book, I'd say.
Right.
So you guys want to check it out, we've got a link down in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future deep dives. But, getting back to Bloom, he argues that we often measure success, I think, by the wrong yardstick, right? Instead of just focusing on that bank account, what if there's a better scorecard for life?
Yeah, and that's what makes this book so interesting is that it's not, some magic formula for happiness or anything like that. He starts off with this really powerful story. He's having drinks with a friend, and the friend just kind of casually drops this bombshell. You're going to see your parents like 15 more times before they die.
Wow. I don't know if I could handle someone saying that to me, just out of the blue,
Yeah.
you know? That would really make me rethink a few things.
And it was this sort of wake-up call for Bloom, too. It kind of forced him to confront this whole idea, the arrival fallacy, which is, that trap. Like, oh, if I just get that promotion, then I'll finally be happy.
Yep. I think we've all been there at some point.
Yeah, but like, as Bloom discovered, and a lot of research kind of backs this up, that's not really how it works.
So what did he do? Did he, have this big existential crisis and, move to a cabin in the woods?
Well, he did something even more interesting. He went on this kind of journey, interviewing people from all walks of life, a barber, a CEO, even a former inmate, and a 90-year-old painter,
Wow, that's quite a range.
to try and understand, how they defined wealth, what made their lives rich.
Yeah, I bet he got some pretty diverse answers.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what led him to define these, what he calls the five types of wealth:
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
financial, time, social, physical, and mental. And the important thing here is that they're all interconnected. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about finding a balance.
Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear because we often get caught up in this zero-sum game, right? It's like if I'm succeeding in one area, I must be failing in another. But it sounds like Bloom's approach is much more, holistic.
Yeah, exactly. It's recognizing that true wealth kind of encompasses all these different aspects of our lives.
Okay, so let's start diving into some of these. Let's talk about time wealth. I think this is where he uses that brilliant analogy of the Red Queen effect from Alice at the Looking Glass.
Yeah, you know that feeling, running as fast as you can, but you're not really getting anywhere?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling all too well.
That's the Red Queen effect in action. It's like this constant pressure to do more, be more, but never feeling like you're making real progress on the things that actually matter.
Oh, it's the worst. So how do we escape this Red Queen race? What does Bloom suggest?
Well, he breaks it down into three key areas, really: awareness, attention, and control.
Okay, lay it on me. Awareness first, huh? What's that about?
Well, it starts with recognizing that time, unlike money, you can't earn more of it. And none of us really know how much we have left.
Right.
And I think, once you truly internalize that, it can be really powerful in motivating you to, like, use the time you do have wisely.
Yeah, because it's easy to just kind of take time for granted, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We all fall into that trap. Okay, but what about attention? What does Bloom have to say about that?
Attention is all about directing your focus to the things that actually matter to you,
Okay,
not just the things that are kind of screaming for your attention at any given moment.
right.
Think about it. How much of your day is spent reacting to emails or notifications or just mindlessly scrolling? Bloom is really challenging us to reclaim our attention and choose where we direct it.
Okay, and that brings us to control. This one, I have a feeling this could be tough for a lot of people, and include myself in that.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely a muscle you have to kind of build and work on. Control is about having the agency to choose how you spend your time. It's about setting boundaries, saying no to things that won't align with your values or your goals. It's easier said than done, but Bloom argues that it's really essential for building true time wealth.
But, what about, one saying no all the time hurt my career or my relationships? Because, I want to be helpful and available for people.
Yeah, and that's a really valid concern, right?
Yeah,
And Bloom addresses that head on. He's not saying become a hermit, and shut everyone out, but it's about being more strategic and more intentional with your time, recognizing that every yes you say to something is a no to something else.
hmm
So the key is choosing those yeses wisely.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if we're spending our time wisely and with the right people, I guess that kind of leads us to social wealth, right?
Exactly. And remember that question about, like, who's going to be sitting in the front row at your funeral? Bloom talks about those people being your front row people. They're the relationships that are truly invaluable.
It's funny because you don't always realize who those people are until you really stop and think about it. It's not necessarily, your coworkers or even your extended family, but it's those few people who, will always have your back no matter what.
Yeah. And Bloom emphasizes that, nurturing those relationships takes effort. It's not about grand gestures. It's about those small, consistent things showing up, being present, being there for each other through the good times and the bad.
Didn't he talk about, there's this fascinating study from Harvard that followed people for, I think it was over 80 years, and the results were kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, the Harvard study of adult development, and it found that strong relationships are actually one of the biggest predictors of both happiness and longevity.
Wow.
It's not just about feeling good, it literally impacts how long we live.
So it's not just, touchy-feely stuff. This is serious business.
That's a big deal.
So I guess that means ditch the small talk and really prioritize those deep, meaningful conversations.
Exactly. And, Bloom gives some great tips for doing that, asking more engaging questions, actually listening to the answers, being vulnerable, sharing your own experiences. It's about moving beyond that superficial level and really connecting with people on a deeper level.
Okay, so we've covered time wealth and social wealth. Let's talk about the next one, physical wealth.
Oh, okay.
I'll be honest, this is the one that I struggle with the most. I know it's important, but I always seem to find excuses.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, but Bloom's approach to physical wealth isn't about becoming some kind of fitness fanatic or, obsessing over every calorie you eat. It's about recognizing that our physical well-being is kind of foundational to everything else. If you're not taking care of your body, it's going to be that much harder to thrive in other areas of your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I know when I'm feeling physically sluggish, it definitely impacts my mood, my focus, even my creativity.
Exactly. And remember the 80-20 rule we talked about earlier, Bloom applies that to physical wealth too.
Okay.
He argues that even small, consistent efforts can lead to really significant results. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. It's about finding what works for you and making sustainable changes.
So what are some of those small changes that Bloom recommends?
Well, he focuses on three key areas: movement, nutrition, and recovery. Movement is about finding ways to move your body that you actually enjoy. It doesn't have to be going to the gym every day. Could be hiking, dancing, playing a sport, or even just taking a walk in nature.
I like that he emphasizes finding activities that you actually enjoy, because that makes it so much more sustainable. What about nutrition? Any surprising insights there?
Bloom's approach to nutrition is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
He's not pushing any fad diets or restrictive eating plans or anything like that. It's about focusing on whole, unprocessed foods, prioritizing protein, and being mindful of portion sizes.
Okay, that sounds pretty manageable. And lastly, recovery. What does Bloom have to say about that?
This is where I think a lot of people drop the ball.
Yeah.
We tend to push ourselves to the limit without giving our bodies enough time to rest and recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Bloom really emphasizes the importance of getting enough sleep, managing stress, incorporating things like meditation or breathing techniques into your routine.
It's funny because we often think of those things as indulgent or even lazy, but they're actually essential for both our physical and mental well-being.
Absolutely. And Bloom even shared some of his own personal mental garden practices that I found really interesting.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, he starts each day with a 15-minute walk in nature, no phone, no distractions. He also incorporates breathing techniques and mindfulness practices into his routine.
I like that. I might have to steal that one. Okay, so we've covered time, social, and physical wealth. That leaves us with mental wealth. This one feels a little harder to define, but I have a feeling it's the most important one of all. Would you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. Mental wealth is kind of the foundation on which all the other types of wealth are built, right? If you're not taking care of your mental health, it's going to be that much harder to thrive in other areas of your life.
So how does Bloom define mental wealth? What are the key components?
He breaks it down into three pillars: purpose, growth, and space. Purpose is about having a clear sense of why you're here and what you want to achieve with your life.
Okay,
It's about connecting your actions to something bigger than yourself.
that's powerful. But how do we actually find our purpose? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
It's definitely a journey, not a destination. Bloom provides some helpful frameworks for exploring your purpose. He talks about identifying your values, your passions, your skills, and then finding ways to align those with your work and your life choices.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where your passion and your skills kind of intersect.
Exactly. He calls that the pursuit map, and it's a really valuable tool for identifying activities that you both enjoy and excel at. It's where you're most likely to find flow and meaning in your work.
Okay, so that's purpose. What about growth? What does Bloom have to say about that?
Bloom is a big proponent of the growth mindset, the idea that we can always learn and grow no matter our age or starting point. It's about embracing challenges, seeking out feedback, and constantly striving to improve.
So it's not about being perfect or avoiding failure, but it's about viewing those failures as opportunities to learn.
Exactly. And then the last pillar of mental wealth is space. Bloom argues that it's essential to create space in our lives for reflection, for stillness, for rejuvenation. It's about giving our minds a chance to rest and recharge so we can show up more fully in other areas of our lives.
So it's not just about being busy all the time, but it's about being intentional about how we spend our time, even if that means scheduling in some downtime.
Absolutely. Bloom encourages us to incorporate practices like meditation, journaling, spending time in nature, or simply taking a few moments to disconnect from technology and just be present with ourselves.
Okay, this mental wealth concept is really resonating with me. It's like the foundation for everything else. So we've covered time wealth, social wealth, physical wealth, and mental wealth. That leaves us with, you guessed it, financial wealth. And I'm guessing Bloom's take on this one is a little different than what we usually hear.
You're right. Bloom's approach to financial wealth is all about aligning your finances with your values and your goals. It's not about chasing money for the sake of money. It's about using money as a tool to create the life you want.
That's a really important distinction because we often get caught up in this idea that more money equals more happiness, but Bloom's book really challenges that assumption.
Exactly. He starts by tracing the evolution of money from barter systems to paper money to modern financial markets. And what's fascinating is how our relationship with money has kind of changed over time.
So it's not just about how much money we have, but also our mindset around money.
Absolutely. And Bloom breaks financial wealth down into three key areas: income generation, expense management, and long-term investment.
Okay, let's break those down. Income generation first. What does Bloom have to say about that?
He encourages us to find ways to earn money that align with our skills, our interests, and our values. It's not just about finding any job that pays the bills. It's about finding work that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
That's a great goal, but it's easier said than done, right? A lot of people feel stuck in jobs they don't love.
Bloom acknowledges that, it's not always easy to make a career change, but he encourages us to explore our options and think creatively about how we can use our skills to generate income. He even suggests starting a side hustle or freelancing as a way to kind of test the waters and build new skills.
Okay, that's a good tip. What about expense management? Any surprising insights there?
Bloom's approach to expense management is all about being mindful of your spending and making sure your outgoings don't exceed your income. He's not advocating for deprivation or anything, but he does encourage us to be intentional about where our money goes.
So it's about tracking your spending, creating a budget, and making sure you're not living beyond your means.
Exactly. He also talks about the importance of automating your savings and negotiating your bills to make sure you're getting the best possible rates.
Okay, those are some really practical tips. And lastly, long-term investment. This is where things can get a bit intimidating for a lot of people, myself included.
I agree. Investing can seem complex, but Bloom breaks it down in a way that's easy to understand. He emphasizes the importance of starting early, even if it's with small amounts of money. And he explains the power of compounding, which is basically the snowball effect of earning interest on your interest over time.
So even if you're not a financial expert, you can still build wealth over time by investing consistently and letting compound interest work its magic.
Exactly. Bloom provides a simple framework for building a diversified investment portfolio, and he encourages us to seek out resources like index funds and ETFs that make it easy to invest in a broad range of assets.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident about investing already. So we've covered all 5 types of wealth: financial, time, social, physical, and mental. What a journey. But before we wrap things up, there's one more concept I want to touch on: Bloom's idea of the enough life. Can you explain that one a bit?
Sure, the enough life is about defining what enough actually means to you. It's about figuring out how much money you truly need to live a comfortable and fulfilling life, and then resisting the temptation to constantly chase more.
Because we often fall into this trap of thinking that, oh, once I reach a certain income level, then I'll finally be happy. But that's often not the case.
Exactly. Bloom encourages us to focus on building a life that's rich in experiences, relationships, and purpose, not just material possessions. It's about finding contentment and gratitude for what you have, rather than always striving for what you lack.
That's a really powerful message. And it ties back to the idea that true wealth isn't just about your bank account. It's about the richness of your life as a whole.
Yeah, it really is. And I think Bloom's book does such a great job of challenging our assumptions about what it means to be, wealthy and successful.
I'm with you there. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. And I'm already, thinking about how I can apply some of these concepts to my own life.
Right.
But before we wrap things up, I'm curious, what was your favorite takeaway from the book?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know, right? There are so many good ones.
There are so many good insights, but one that really stuck with me is Bloom's emphasis on taking leaps of faith.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember that part.
Hmm.
What exactly did he mean by that, though? Was he talking about, quitting your job and starting a business or
And
something?
not necessarily. It's more about having the courage to pursue what truly matters to you, even if it feels scary or uncertain.
Okay.
It could be anything from starting a creative project to having a difficult conversation to simply saying no to something that's, draining your energy.
So it's about, stepping outside of your comfort zone and embracing the unknown.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Bloom argues that these leaps of faith, even if they don't always work out exactly the way we expect, they're essential for growth and fulfillment.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. It's so easy to just get stuck in our routines and let fear kind of hold us back.
Right.
But I think Bloom's book is a really powerful call to action, to live a more intentional and fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And I think the beauty of his approach is that it's not like some rigid formula. It's
Right.
about finding what works for you and creating a life that feels authentic and meaningful.
I love that. Well said. So, to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to take some time to reflect on these 5 types of wealth and to consider which ones you might want to focus on enriching in your own lives. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. And as Bloom says, it's about finding contentment and gratitude for what you have while still striving to create the life you want.
Great advice.
And if you're interested in exploring these ideas further, be sure to check out Sahil Bloom's book, The 5 Types of Wealth. We've included a link in the description below.
Yep.
And as always, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you most from this deep dive? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the books and ideas that are shaping our world.
Until next time.